What's up, everybody? My name's Big Cam and welcome back to Comically Boston episode 282, and it's back with another Monday weekly nerdy news, and we are here to discuss the last week in nerddom in San Diego Comic-Con, and not too crazy of an updates coming out of San Diego Comic-Con, but there was a few things that we can talk about and some news that happened over the last week. And let's jump right on into it with some solemn news, and that is that Ozzy freaking Osbourne passed away, and he passed away at 76, and then right afterwards Hulk Hogan passed away, which, not such a great guy, Hulk Hogan, but still, you know, a fucking larger-than-life character of Hulk Hogan, you know, and brought so many eyes to wrestling through the years, and I think everybody in the world knows the name Hulk Hogan, even if you don't watch wrestling, and also probably Ozzy Osbourne, you know, like, but 76, did drugs his whole life, minded his own business, versus preached health and wealth and lifting weights, died at 71. All I'm saying, do what you want to do in your life. Nothing guarantees that you're going to live forever. And, you know, you could do drugs and party hard and destroy yourself and live till 76. Or you can be ripped until you're 71 and still pass away. You know, like, Ozzy, baby. Oh, God, that, and poor Ozzy, you know, passes away like days after his last performance, and it made like something crazy like $180–200 million concert or something crazy like that, and he didn't accept a single dollar of it. It was just like, I've made all the money I was supposed to make from music, give it back to the people, give it back to whatever. And I heard them throw out an idea that maybe they should throw a concert every year and have people come and perform and be like a tribute concert to Ozzy. And like, I think that's a great idea. And every year the concert money goes to funding the concert for the next year. You know what I mean? That type of thing. But speaking of dope things that I hope live on to eternity, and that is the Predator movies, and Predator Badlands just recently had big Hall H panel at San Diego Comic-Con, and they had a big presence over there and had the actresses there, and Elle Fanning was there talking about her character, and apparently she's playing not one but two characters, so maybe she's two different androids, or maybe they're like twins or something, but they're still gonna be like robots, because we see in that trailer that like she's cut in half. So, and the Predator Yautia deck is carrying around like C-3PO on the back of Chewbacca. And if you guys haven't checked out the trailer breakdown I did last week for Predator Badlands, that's on the channel now, go check that out. But here's a new poster that came out from San Diego Comic-Con, I believe, only in theaters November 7th, Predator Badlands, from the director of Prey, and you can see what I was talking about there with the Yautia deck and Elle Fanning strapped to the back of them, and then below them looks like maybe Yautia Prime in like a elder predator with green blood on his blade, walking either towards us or away from us. I can't really tell from the shadow, but I can't wait to see that movie. And then also they, because they were doing a Predator Badlands panel, they did a little updated post-credit scene to Predator Killer of Killers, and you know, spoilers for that if you haven't seen it, but there's also a breakdown for that on my channel if you want to go check it out. But I thought it was really cool that like people were speculating with the regular post-credit scene they showed Naru from Prey at the end of Predator Killer of Killers in like this container captured by the Predators. So like, is she going to be in this movie or in the next Predator Killer of Killers, or is that going to be Prey 2 type of thing? I don't know, but that we were speculating that like who else could be in those containers. Maybe Dutch, Arnold Schwarzenegger, maybe Danny Glover's, I forget his character's name, but you know, they were from Predator 1 and Predator 2. And they both show up now in the post-credit scene that they updated just the other day. So if you go and watch Predator Killer of Killers, there's a new post-credit scene for you. I just thought that was cool that they can do that type of stuff and just be like, yeah, update it. That's a cool idea, you know, and throw that in there. In teasing future Predator stuff, that seems like they're in very, very good hands with Dan Trachtenberg. And talk about two people I've seen impressed recently, whether it's David Cornsweet's Superman or Dan Trachtenberg, two guys that like just from hearing what they had to say, I was like, wow, I want to meet them. I think we'll be pals. You know, like they're so very like-minded with myself. I was like, wow, I really fuck with Dan Trachtenberg and David Cornsweet heavy. And I hope I'm going to fuck with Alien Earth very heavy, with Noah Hawley's new show coming to FX very, very soon. August 12th, so we're, you know, a little less than 2 weeks out from that. So comment below if that's going to be a show that you want to see breakdowns of, or, you know, just maybe talking about weekly on the Comically Boston Weekly Nerdy News. You know, if you're going to be watching Alien Earth, comment below. You know, I'd love to talk more Predator and Aliens with the fans that are out there that like that kind of stuff. Moving on though to a movie poster that some people thought never would have came out ever, and apparently at Hall H, or you know, maybe not Hall H, but at San Diego Comic-Con, they released the trailer for Coyote versus Acme, which got canceled and then bought back by the Ketchup Company, and then now is trying to be put out, and now has its official release date of August 28th, 2026, with this movie poster here, which I believe is what, the Coyote, and he's smashed through the ground here like a classic Looney Tunes movie, and John Cena's in this, and there's like tons of people in this movie, and it had great reviews, and then it just got canceled out of nowhere. So, you know, the power of the audience bringing this movie back, I was very happy to see that. Another little follow-up thing, Percy Jackson and the Olympians, the quest continues, December 2025, so Christmas this year. It looks like we're getting, I think this is season 2 for Percy Jackson, and I liked season 1, Walker Scoville as Percy was great, so, you know, coming back for season 2, and I believe there's, what, 3 books, and there used to be movies. I think they only ever got to do 2 of the movies, so if this is the second of the books and going to be the second season of the show, are we going to meet Poseidon? His father, right? I don't know, I haven't read those books in a long time, but I watched the season 1 I thought was pretty good. Comment below your thoughts on Percy Jackson. Now, a season of a show that I very much so am going to be watching, and maybe even break down on the channel, because I have talked about at length The Boys in the 4 or 5 seasons that has already come out for that. I think it's been 4. And then I think there's been at least 1 or maybe 2 seasons of Gen V. And I watched it all and I loved it. But I never did any breakdowns for the channel. And out of the shows I was doing at one time, there was like 3 shows coming out. And I was like, should I do The Boys or like Andor or Ahsoka? And everyone was like, do The Boys. And I never did because I was doing more Marvel and Star Wars stuff. But comment below, when The Boys Season 5 comes out, would you like to see episode breakdowns for that? And Gen V as well, because a new season for Gen V is coming September 17th from the world of The Boys, and this is like the Boys, but if they were in college type of thing. And Gen V was a wild show, and I'm pretty sure only 1 season, maybe 2, but if so, this would either be season 2 or 3, you know, another new season coming out for that. And I think that's going to be The Boys season 5 will be the last season of The Boys, but maybe The Boys universe can continue with Gen V, and that won't be the final season of Gen V. And I also heard that there's like a Mexican Boys spin-off show, so the Boys will probably live on, even though The Boys season 5 will be its final season. What won't be Netflix's Wednesday's final season of season 2 coming out soon, because they just got greenlit for season 3 before season 2 even comes out, and it says bad things come in 3s. Oh boy. Oh boy. I haven't watched that show yet, but boy oh boy does Jenna Ortega look the part of Wednesday so perfectly. So comment below if that's an interesting show for the scary girlies out there, or the goth girlies. Coming to theaters August 15th, a Spike Lee joint, and this is Highest to Lowest with Denzel Washington, and this is an Apple TV Plus joint. Streaming September 5th though, so if you want to wait till September, this movie will be out on Apple TV, or if you want to see it in theaters, August 25th. Me personally, I'm probably going to wait till September, just because August is going to be a real busy month for me, not necessarily for movies, but, you know, life. Plus it's the middle of the summer, so, you know, I maybe want to take a goddamn vacation. But Highest to Lowest is definitely on my list of movies I want to see this year, and there's been a lot of them. I mean, I just, over the weekend, got to see Fantastic Four for a 2nd time in theaters, and Superman I got to see a 3rd time, so really loving the movies of July so far. Now, a TV series that I would absolutely love is the God of War video game, and there has been a TV series in the works with Amazon for a while, and Collider just released this like statement of everything we know and all the details we know about the live action God of War series. And that is that season 1 is going to be 10 episodes. Filming at the earliest will begin in 2026, so maybe next year we're going to start filming for this. We haven't gotten any castings yet, but it will adapt the Norse era of the game, so it won't be like God of War, you know, the original. It will be more like the newer games, and it will focus on Kratos and Atreus, his son. And the game director, Cory Barlog, is involved, so that's a good sign, because Cory Barlog did a fantastic job with the game. So if he's trying to take the helm of the show, that's great. I'm hoping they maybe even bring Christopher Judge to be Kratos in live action, or maybe even have the people from the game be the live action people. But if they don't want to go that route, who would you want to be Kratos, you know? And it hasn't even started filming season 1 yet, and season 2 has already been greenlit, and scripts are being written for season 1 and season 2, trying to really adapt this game into a show. And I'm thinking maybe a Dave Bautista Kratos, maybe a John Bernthal has been something that's been thrown out there. I like both of those options. Both men look good bald. Both men can grow hardy beards, so both of them have deeper voices, you know. But then who would be Atreus, you know? Like, so I don't know what's going to happen with that show, but I am here for it. And that game is phenomenal. So if there's not going to be a God of War, you know, God of War Ragnarok was the follow-up. If there's not going to be a third game, 2 great seasons of a show will be worthy, you know. And if they don't do it as good as the game, I mean, they're gonna have to, you know, like they're gonna have to stay pretty faithful, because the game story is phenomenal and it looks great, and it, you know, like it's gonna be real hard for them to shoot that in live action, I'll tell you what. Another Apple TV Plus joint that I absolutely love is Ted Lasso, and the 3rd season I didn't love, and it technically said it was gonna, like, you know, stop there. We're not coming back. This is the end. But they have now released that there's season 4 coming, and now here's a little teaser of season 4 with Ted Lasso sitting there, Jason Sudeikis, and Juno Temple, Rebecca. No, her name in the show is Rebecca. The actual actress in real life is Hannah Waddingham, and then Leslie is the character's name, I think. But I love this show. I love the cast so much. Roy Kent, I hope, is back as well, and so many other of the cast members. But I can't wait to see that season 4, and such a heartfelt, nice little Amazon, you know, or Apple TV Plus show that, you know, is a nice little feel-good show while you're watching dinner. I just recently started with my roommate, The Bear, so we're going through the 4 seasons of that, and he's loving it so far. Mostly for cousin, Ebon Moss-Backrack, who just played The Thing in Fantastic Four. Not crazy big news, but confirmed by Variety recently that ADRIA Arjona has been cast as a co-lead in Michael B. Jordan's newest film, he's going to be starring and directing the Thomas Crown Affair. So these two are going to be kind of like hooking up in this like love affair, Crown Affair movie. I don't know. I'm not sure what the Thomas Crown Affair is. Comment below if that's maybe a book or something, or maybe a play. I don't know. But Michael B. Jordan's directing with ADRIA Arjona's fine ass starring next to him. I'm gonna have to check that one out when that comes out for sure. But also, comment below what you feel about ADRIA Arjona playing Wonder Woman. I feel like I'm really here for that. Next up, we got some Vanity Fair exclusive images, and this one here is of Jacob Elordi's Frankenstein and Guillermo del Toro's newest film, Frankenstein. And I can't wait to get an actual look at this character, because from the trailer, the voice of him sounds creepy, and like Jacob Elordi's a big old fuck, so he's probably going to be large and intimidating. And then Oscar Isaac's also in there. And you can see in this image here that they have the Frankenstein strung up on this like post, and I believe this is the scene where he's trying to power him up and like, you know, it's alive, you know, that type of thing. But you can see Oscar Isaac here looking up at him, and the wall in the background, is that like a giant Medusa statue of this like face that's like haunted and like, it's creepy. And then the final image from that Vanity Fair exclusive is of Mia Goth's character from that movie. And she's got like this crazy blue feathers in her wig and this like blue outfit with a blue fan. I'm gonna probably eat up her character. What's her deal? Is she gonna be like the bride of Frankenstein? It's gonna be her and Jacob Elordi? Maybe. I don't know what this movie's gonna be about, but I like Guillermo del Toro's vision, and the cast in that seems pretty awesome. But moving on to some DC news, and LEGO recently has just released images of their newest DC LEGO, and that doesn't happen a whole lot. So normally if it's a new DC LEGO, it's like, oh, is it another Batmobile? Yep. But Lego is releasing a 2,953 piece 18 plus set that is Arkham Asylum. Now I haven't built a Lego set in a long while. I've been switching my collection over into really Hot Toys mostly, you know, also mostly because of the stuff that Lego's been coming out with. I haven't been too impressed with since the Avengers Tower was like the last thing I saw that I was like, I need it, you know? Like the X-Mansion came out and I was like, it looked good, but it's kind of a money grab, you know? Like it could have been more substantial than it was. And this could be a money grab as well, but at least comes with some dope minifigs and comes with a whole lot and, you know, is a DC set, modular building. And this set's gonna come with 16 figures. It looks like an armorized Batman, like a normal Batman, a Robin, a Batwoman, Harley Quinn, Joker, Poison Ivy, Scarecrow, maybe Killer Croc, Bane, like just two little officers that work at Arkham, the Riddler, Mr. Freeze, Catwoman, and then the Penguin, you know, like, so some decent minifigs. Some people are mad that like the orange jumpsuits are like all the same and they pretty much just gave people different heads when like they could have had some like custom outfits, you know, like they would have customized their prison jumpsuit a little bit. Now granted, they are in Arkham, so they're supposed to be in prison, so you know, it works, but people were like, come on, they could have done better figures for the Arkham people. But the amount of figures is still kind of cool, you know? And cool that we're going to be getting an Arkham Asylum set. And it comes with like a little, like, hospital thing that the Joker's driving. Yeah, it looks like it's a decent scale with like the lamp in the background and the guy. Yeah, I might have to cop me this, but has there been any other Lego sets that you've had to get, you know? Like, I almost went and got the Galactus Fantastic Four one, but I didn't love how that looked either, so I was just like, you know what? I'll get the Hot Toys of Galactus and the Fantastic Four, and that will look a lot better and look exactly like the characters rather than this little miniature version, you know? So, like, I don't know. Recently for me, Lego hasn't been, like, grabbing me like it used to, you know? And then just like the thought of it, like, yeah, I could buy a $1,000 Lego set and then spend a month building it, or, you know, spend all of my time building this one set, and then it's built and it's massive and it's cumbersome and it's cool, but then I'll probably never unbuild it, or, you know, I'm not going to be playing with it, you know, like, I build things for display. I like the display of it, you know, I like how it looks in the background, like that giant statue back there. Like, I'm not playing with that statue, I just got it to look cool back there, you know, like, and I love how it looks in the background of videos. Same with things with the Hot Toys, and how each one of the Hot Toys represents not only a character that I like, but the exact outfit from that movie, and that time from that movie, and the actor themselves. Like, you know, like, that's Hugh Jackman, that's Josh Brolin, you know, like, that's Tom Holland, you know, like, there's some of these figures that look so spot on and so perfect that I'm like, yeah, not only is it one of my favorite actors, favorite characters, favorite movies, now I have this little 1/6 scale perfect representation of that, and it didn't cost me $1,000, you know, like, I could get two of the most expensive, dopest figures with tons of attachments and display bases that they come with for the same price as one super expensive Lego. And it won't take me multiple weeks to put together the Hot Toys. And I can go back to the Hot Toy and change its pose and change it up and then make it feel like it's all brand new. You know, like, I don't know if you guys done this to your car, but, you know, if you buy a car and you have it for a while and then you rewrap it with like a vinyl wrap on the outside and change the paint color, sometimes that makes you feel like you have a brand new car and you didn't have to go spend the money on a brand new car, you know? So I don't know, maybe that's just where my mind is. I don't know if that analogy makes sense to you, but me personally, I've gotten out of the Legos and I've been into the Hot Toys. So stay tuned for more Hot Toys unboxings coming out this weekend. And if you haven't checked out the Lady Pool and Cable unboxing of last weekend, go check that out. But moving on to some DC news and the future of the DCU and things that we know are in works or talking about being in works, and one of them being a Mr. Terrific show. And I absolutely love Mr. Terrific. Now that I've seen Superman 3 times, Mr. Terrific just keeps getting better and better in the cast. Like, I thought by the 3rd time seeing it in theaters, I'd be like, yeah, no, I'm not hyped, you know, like, I've seen it, I understand what's happening, I've now, you know, got what's happening, I've seen it, you know, I'm not experiencing anything new for the first time, and somehow, some way, it still loved it all over again. You know, I was smiling ear to ear, and now, honestly, 3 times through, the needle drop, like the one and only needle drop in Superman, is during the Mr. Terrific fight scene, And the first time I didn't like it. The second time it started winning me over. The third time I'm fully on board with fucking the song choice and just the action and how dope it looks. And it's almost like the Yondu arrow scene from Guardians 2, but it's with Mr. Terrific's T-spears rather than an arrow. And there's like multiple spears rather than just one arrow. And the arrow leaves a trail, like these different spears leave trails, you know, but differently. And then there's like this red thing protecting Lois the whole time, and it's just fun, fun, fun. We're gonna play in the sun, sun, sun. And Mr. Terrific's just fucking pew, 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 pew. You know, like, it's so good. It's so good. So if Edgy gets a chance to star in his own series, I would love that. Now, another one that was in the works, and I believe rumor had Danny McBride attached, who has done many things, but has most recently done The Righteous Gemstones. He was going to be attached to the show with Kumail Nanjiani playing Booster Gold. That has been scrapped, I think, but the series, I think, is still in the works, and people have been throwing out there that they should make Glenn Powell Booster Gold, and I was like, that might work. It might work a lot. It might work very good, actually, but I don't know. I was still kind of here for Kumail Nanjiani, but also with Danny McBride and Kumail, you kind of see the vision of where they're trying to take that show, and maybe, you know, they switch it up and you know, or want to go a different direction now. Who knows? But those two are potentially in the works, and other things we know for sure in the works for DCU that are coming soon would be Lanterns for HBO, the Supergirl movie with Millie Alcock, the Clayface movie from, I believe, Mike Flanagan's script, and, you know, we know a couple people that now are starring in that, and they're trying to find the female lead to go next to Tom Rhys-Harris, I believe is his name, who's playing Clayface. Also, James Gunn seems to be developing Batman the Brave and the Bold in a Wonder Woman script. And then just recently, Sergeant Rock had been in the works, and then they had to kind of dial it back because the script wasn't perfect and wasn't ready, and Luca Guadagnino and Daniel Craig were set to be involved. Now, I don't think they're involved, but they're still trying to make that movie, which I could see maybe being like a Creature Commandos prequel or sequel with like G.I. Robot starring, and I could see James Gunn doing very well with that. And then also Matt Reeves' Batman Part 2 is in the works that we know for sure. Script is finished and will start filming probably in 2026 and maybe have to be filmed and put together quickly, because I think the release date for that is October of 2026, is it not? It might have been pushed back to 2027, which would be even crazier. Like, how are we 2 years away still from Batman Part 2? That's crazy. Oh. And then James said he was going to release these eventually, and this is the Hall of Justice mural. And I thought I would recognize a lot more characters, so I'm just going to show the images here and slide left from right. And the guy all the way to the left seems like Rapunzel? I don't know, like his giant blonde beard superpowers? I don't know. Then there seems to be this like guy in a knight costume with a red shield, maybe like an old Amazon woman with like a wooden mallet. I don't know any of these guys. Maybe a fencing guy, a guy on a horse, maybe a Flash, but it doesn't look like Lou Gehrig or whatever the fuck his name was. I am so sorry for any of the comic book experts out there that are like, God, this guy doesn't know shit. Hey, I've never claimed to be a comic book expert. I'm just a huge fan of these movies and these universes. But if you guys want to know the actual characters and ties to the DC universe and why these are a big deal, I highly recommend going and checking out Jenna Anderson's channel on YouTube called Go Read Some Comics, because she is an expert in that side of things, and she did a whole video on breaking down these murals that looked awesome. I'm just going to go through the dumb normal person version and just be like, okay, well, there's a guy in a bull mask or whatever. He's like, he looks jacked, but he's got like a mask on with horns, and I don't know, looks like a friggin' Scooby-Doo villain. There's another guy on a horse. There's a guy that's just standing there, maybe boxing. I'm not even gonna guess. There's a guy with a ribbon. There's a green guy with yellow with an A on his chest. There's a magician-looking motherfucker. I don't know. And then there's a whole other side to this where there's a woman with an A on her chest, a guy that looks like he's running, that's maybe looks like he's wearing a Zorro outfit. It looks like maybe a lady peacemaker, a guy flying, the girl with the A is on her chest is like hitting the Liberty Bell. Maybe it looks like maybe the White House is in the background. There's two people in green and blue with red stripes. I don't know. Maybe that's like an early Batman Robin type of thing. It looks like a guy with a spacesuit with like a nuclear symbol on his shield that looks like a cheetah, that looks like a black guy with like a luchador mask. The Wildcat, that's like the only one I've known here is Wildcat punching the boxing bag or the heavy bag over there with the boxing ring. There's a guy doing a cartwheel with one hand. Maybe Maxwell Lord over there in the bottom all the way to the right. That could be Sean Gunn. It could also be Dr. Fate maybe. I don't know. Comment below if you know any of those comic book characters from that. But Peacemaker Season 2 also had a pretty big present at San Diego Comic-Con, and they had like a whole Peace Fest where they announced like what was going to be the theme song and like the dance sequence at the beginning of Peacemaker Season 2. I believe it's like Oh Lord by Foxy Shazam or something like that. Pretty good song. I don't think it's any wigwam for doodaloo 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 bop bop. You know, like, so good. I'm planning on doing a Peacemaker rewatch very soon and going through episode by episode for that. August 21st is when the new season drops. In what world is he the hero? And John Cena's Peacemaker, baby, coming back for season 2, but this time in the new DCU, and they're going to explain it, and there's some little images that released, and the whole cast was at San Diego Comic-Con, and of course John Cena stole the Peacemaker suit again, so he came out in full Peacemaker regalia and the hat, the helmet on and everything, giving the peace to the crowd. But a trailer for Peacemaker Season 2 also came out, so a trailer reaction coming sometime this week, either tomorrow or Wednesday. But the couple images that I was able to pull from this is like, they were talking like it's going to be a multiple different universes and that type of thing, because of his pocket dimension type of thing, and he finds a new universe where like he's a hero and he wants to stay there and he has to fight himself. So like that's going to be a big part of this Season 2. And one of the dimensions he's looking at has like Spider Machine in like a skull head on top of it, and like the whole world seems to be burning, and like it looks crazy, but what is going on here? Like, I need to know. And then there's a poster for the Mighty Crabjoys, which is a tie directly to the Mighty Crabjoys from Superman, and there's a shot of Peacemaker jumping from rooftop through a window, I think, into the building next to him, or maybe jumping rooftop to rooftop. And then there's the image of Peacemaker pointing a gun at another Peacemaker. So, 2 Peacemakers, 2 different universes. What's going to happen in Season 2? Who knows? I got to watch the full trailer and break that down to decide what's going to happen and what I think I saw, or, you know, what's going to be there. But I still haven't watched the full trailer because I want to get my full reaction and breakdown with you guys. So stay tuned for this week for that, and some multiple movie reviews coming as well. But let's get into some Marvel and Disney stuff as we end this show. And Disney meaning Avatar Fire and Ash has been releasing their teaser trailer. I don't even think it's a full trailer, just like a teaser trailer in front of Fantastic Four First Steps. And I got to see the trailer again yesterday, and boy does it look good. Although I think the trailer for Way of Water, the initial first teaser trailer, was better. But this one looks dark and mysterious, and like I gotta know what Fire and Ash is about, and who is this red lady with like this red paint on her forehead, and like this red crown, you know, or crazy. But this is an Empire magazine cover. It says "The Running Man on Your Marks," and that's for Edgar Wright's new Running Man movie with Glenn Powell. There's also things that say Spinal Tap 2, Frankenstein, Guillermo del Toro's Electrifies a Classic, A Big, Bold, Beautiful Journey, Margot Robbie and Colin Farrell on Making Magic, Popeye, How Spinach Almost Sank a Studio. Okay. A slow news month for Empire, apparently. And then there was this alternate Empire cover of Fire and Ash with this new Fire tribe or Fire clan. They seem like they maybe live on like a volcano, you know, type of thing. And they seem like it's going to be Avatar versus these bad avatars, this movie, instead of necessarily the Avatar versus the humans, you know what I mean? Like, I think this movie's gonna be Avatar versus Avatar, you know, or Na'vi versus Na'vi, and it's scary. But this is the original poster for this. But like I was saying, in theaters December 19th, so can't wait to see this during Christmas, and I can't wait for the actual trailer to be released so I can do a trailer reaction for the channel. But I loved Avatar 1. When I grew up, saw it 2010 or whenever that came out, loved it. used to watch it all the time because of the colors and how good it looked. And then Avatar The Way of Water came out, and he spent 10 years from Avatar to Avatar Way of Water just making the technology to make this movie look so good. And then filmed 2 and 3 like during that 10 years back to back. So that's the only reason why this is able to come out like a year or two between each other. You know, I'm pretty sure Christmas of 23, now Christmas of 25, we're getting Avatar 3. So at least the time difference between 2 and 3 is much shorter than 1 and 2. But Avatar The Way of Water looks so good, and it was such a good movie that I don't know how he can top himself with Fire and Ash. But the initial trailer, I don't know if you guys remember the teaser trailer for Way of Water. It was like this slow piano and like harmonizing just ha 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 ha. You know, like it just had this like bong bong bong. You know, like, and it was this beautiful trailer. And I don't think a trailer will ever get better than that for me. You know, like I'll never forget seeing, you know, sitting in theaters and seeing that Way of Water teaser trailer come on screen for the first time, and just like how beautiful it looked, but how beautiful the music and the score is. Ah, giving me chills thinking about it, James Cameron. Like, stop it. I love the Avatar universe so much. And honestly, seeing the first Avatar movie, I loved it so much because I was thinking about Avatar The Last Airbender so much. I loved that show growing up so much. And Uncle Iroh, like, come on, let's be real. If you guys know, you know. But comment below, are you excited for Avatar Fire and Ash? But let's finish out the show with some Marvel news, shall we? There's a new Marvel comic coming out that I thought looked very interesting, because on the cover here, it looks like Godzilla looks like he's maybe been crossed with Wolverine. So we got Wolverine Godzilla destroys the Marvel universe. How the hell? I might need to go get me some of this. You know, there's a couple of these where it's like Godzilla destroys the Marvel universe, Marvel versus aliens, Marvel versus Predator. There's a couple of things like that where it's like my favorite Marvel characters crossing with some of my other favorite movie characters of all time, whether it's Predators, aliens, or Godzilla. You know, like, talk about entertainment. Like, I might need to go find these comics and feast my soul on them. But Kevin Feige, while he was at San Diego Comic-Con in last week, or before, you know, Fantastic Four First Steps premiered, he had this round table with a bunch of different press, and he was talking the talk and was talking a lot about the future of Marvel and their next, you know, plan for what's coming next. Is he has a 7-year plan, and it usually is 10 or 5, but he has kind of a 7-year plan right now, so that's taking us to 2032, I believe. And I believe he also said that there's only about 2 years left on his contract. So, you know, is Marvel going to re-sign Kevin Feige to a longer term deal? I fucking hope so. What the fuck would that, what? They're right in the middle of like doing something great. They're going, the guy that's created and done all of it and been the head of this, yeah, let's just fire him. We don't need him. Like, you know, keep Kevin Feige around Marvel forever, please. Do not let him go do Star Wars or something. Like, let him stick around Marvel, please. But Kevin Feige, during that roundtable interview, was also talking about how Gareth Edwards' movie, The Creator, with John David Washington, and how little budget it was made for, and films being made by the visual effects artists, and how they can be made for cheap and also look really good because these guys know exactly what they need to be able to make something look amazing, but also they're not wasting time getting stuff they don't need. You know what I mean? Like, so they're efficient, they're great, you know, they're cheap, you know, like he was able to make robot creatures and not have motion capturing suits and all this stuff. Like, he made the technology of this movie and how good the creator looks, even though the story in the creator is not great, but it looks phenomenal. And, you know, because Gareth Edwards made this movie for so cheap, Marvel movies have been able to be made for way less money. So they're not spending $200 million to make a movie anymore. You know, maybe they're spending $100 and then being able to spend that second $100 on press and marketing and that type of thing. You know, like Fantastic Four First Steps probably still had a $200 million budget. Luckily for them, they made a $220 million opening box office weekend. So they've already made profit, and it's only the first opening weekend, you know? So hopefully that movie has legs and makes a ton of money for this franchise. But because of the creator and making cheaper movies for less money, he seemed very happy with the amount of money movies can be made for. Like, movies don't need to be made for hundreds of millions of dollars when great movies are being made for $3 million, you know? Like, think about it like this. You could make one movie for $100 million, or you could make 4 unreal movies for $25 million with directors that are used to getting $1 million or $2 million for a movie, you know? Like, directors that are making smaller movies but better than Marvel movies for less money, you know, is making Marvel look at it and go, okay, yeah, why don't we spend less money, get these directors that can make a great movie for less money, and do like a Thunderbolts, where it doesn't necessarily feel like the most money was spent on that movie, and they were able to get, you know, spend the money on the cast and the production and the visual effects, and it looks great. Although that wasn't the best reviewed film or the most watched film, it's one of my favorite films from the year for sure. And some other good news coming out of Marvel in Kevin Feige is he said that they have nailed down that Blade is still in the works, so Mahershala Ali's Blade is not canceled, and that they did have about 3 or 4 options for a script for this film, and 2 of them were set in the past, kind of like the 1930s Sinners movie that Ryan Coogler just came out with. And the Blade movie had costumes that they sold to Sinners because they didn't end up doing this older style Blade movie. So they've nailed down that they're doing a Blade movie. It's set in the modern day, and it might start filming in 2026. Now, at least this sounds like it's going in the right direction for me. Now, I won't believe it's filming until I see it filming, you know what I mean? But it seems like a step in the right direction for Blade fans that want to see Mahershala Ali be Blade, and they want to see him, you know, as the Daywalker, you know, that type of thing. But set in the present day also leaves it open for him to be interacting with these other characters, with Black Knight, with, you know, a possible Midnight Suns that could be in the works. You know, that's where I would like the darker things to go, you know, like make a Mephisto the head of like a Midnight Suns big bad, and have Black Knight, Blade, Doctor Strange, Ironheart, all of the people, Hood, you know, anybody connected to Mephisto, have them in that movie, and have like the dark side of the MCU, and like the witches and the wizards and the werewolves and the vampires, have all of that kind of thing on one side of the thing, and then have the Marvel heroes. And then if you do an Avengers movie and you want to bring in some dark stuff, you bring in the Midnight Suns, and if you don't, you leave them out. You let them do their own thing, you know, like in the same way that DC is doing Matt Reeves and being like, hey, let him do his own thing. Marvel has never, ever been like, hey, that movie, no, don't worry about that. That is an MCU. It's just a great movie that's in alternate universe. Marvel doesn't have the balls to do that. You know, they have to make everything connect, and then sometimes they do a poor job at that. Maybe Marvel needs a little separate side universe type of thing going on, where like they could connect it if they want, and if they don't want to, let it be Matt Reeves' Batman universe. You know what I mean? Like, hey, it's DC, but it's over here, you know? Like, hey, it's Marvel, but it's over here. Don't worry about it. Like, it's great, but it's not going to be RDJ's Doctor Doom, you know? It's going to be fucking over here. Do you want to see Blade in the MCU or adjacent to the MCU? Comment below. But just to wrap up this show, we'll talk about the Rotten Tomatoes score in the box office for the Fantastic Four First Steps. I believe Fantastic Four is now past 218 in the opening box office global weekend. I think Superman made something like 220. So, you know, right around comparable numbers for the two of them. But far and away the best Fantastic Four movie out there, considering Fan4stick only got a 9% on Rotten Tomatoes, the original 2005 Fantastic Four got 27, and The Rise of the Silver Surfer got 37. Now, the first two Fantastic Fours, I would give, you know, closer to 40-50%. 27 and 37 is very low. But an 87% Rotten Tomatoes score, debuting score for the Fantastic Four First Steps, is quite good and, you know, great for them. And it initially debuted with 88% with 42 reviews from critics. And now, the last time I looked, it was sitting at 88% with 219 critic reviews, so it's certified fresh, and a 92% audience score. So people are liking the Fantastic Four. It's an hour and 55-minute runtime. It's pretty quick. It's a tight story. Initially, the first time through, I really wanted that stuff that I knew got cut out with John Malkovich in the Mole Man, you know, in like the first act. I feel like I still feel like this, where I feel like Shia LaBeouf, when she arrives, is like the start of the second act, and it only happens about 15-20 minutes into the movie, which only tells me the first act that they originally had planned got edited way down into like this tight montage when it could have been like 30 or 40 minutes of setting the tone of this 1960s universe and setting the tone of like this new Fantastic Four and who these characters are. Like, we don't necessarily need to see them go to space, get their powers, that whole thing. But I think we needed to spend the 4 years, so the same way where Superman time jumps immediately into the film, Fantastic Four could have shown us more of that 4 years before they jump into it, where like we're 4 years into the Fantastic Four being the Fantastic Four, where like even in the montage they show, you know, like maybe the original suits that they had, where it had like a black collar and like a darker number and a darker blue, and then now they're 4 years in and they have newer suits with the lighter blue, with the white, with the Fantastic Four logo in the middle, you know, like I would have wanted to see more of the first 4 years, but without it, it's still a great, tight movie. But I've never wanted an extended cut more of a Marvel film where it's like, when that comes out at home, give us that extra first act montage, like let us see more. Because that's what I've heard everyone's complaints from this movie. Nobody's really said like, this looked bad, that looked bad, or anything like that. It's always just been, I wanted more of this thing. When like, James Gunn, you leave, and it wasn't a complaint. It was like, damn, I want to see more Superman. I want to see more of these characters. And people went home and started watching more DC stuff. I didn't hear anybody be like, I didn't get enough of Superman. Like, maybe myself, I wanted more of Clark and Lois and maybe that first relationship stuff. But like, I think James Gunn had such a clear vision, where I think Fantastic Four First Steps saw James Gunn's clear vision and kind of panic edited this thing into a nice tight movie, and it worked. But I feel like it was getting edited until the final moments, where James Gunn feels like a solid vision, not only for this movie, but going forward. But he was also starting at building block one and going from there, where Marvel's, you know, in the middle of a brick mansion and then being like, well, maybe I want this brick here, and then the whole thing comes falling down. Like, they can't do that. They're in the middle of a process rather than the beginning, so it's much harder for Marvel. But I don't know, they still, for two movies coming within 2 weeks of each other, very different characters, it feels really good to have a Marvel and a DC character both doing very well at the movie theaters, and, you know, people unanimously loving these films, you know, because so far the Rotten Tomatoes score for the last 3 superhero films of this year, Thunderbolts had an 88 and a 93 audience, Superman is at an 83 and a 92 audience, and then Fantastic Four was at an 88 and a 92 audience. So very, very good scores for these movies. And it's funny that like Superman's at 83 as an audience with 433 reviews, where you know some of those people are just hating. But 92%, still the audience is absolutely loving these movies. And I mean, Thunderbolts got great reviews, so why did people not like that? I don't know. But for me, my favorite movies of the year is still Superman and Thunderbolts, even though I loved Fantastic Four. It's still Thunderbolts and Superman, mostly because the casts in those 2 movies, I just want to hang out with more and spend time with these characters more. Well, that's not totally fair, because I definitely do want to spend more time with these Fantastic Four characters, and Pedro as Reed is great, but the standout for me is Sue Storm. Vanessa Kirby was fantastic. Ebon Moss-Backrack's The Thing looks amazing. The CGI looks great. The beard, when the beard comes into it, I love the beard. Joseph Quinn's Johnny Storm surprised me and how great he is, you know, and he actually looks great as a blonde, and he's not just like Chris Evans' Johnny Storm, where he's a prick and kind of a jackass the whole time. He actually feels like a smart, contributing member to this team, and they each kind of have their own roles. Herbie's also great. I like that Joseph and the Human Torch is kind of trying to flirt with the Silver Surfer at times, you know, and like he actually has a whole little arc with her, and this shot with like the Silver Surfer and her in Julia Gardner's eyes with Joseph Quinn reflecting in her mirrored face some great shots in this movie, and the whole chase sequence with the Silver Surfer looked amazing, and then Galactus looking huge looks amazing. Walking through the city, just like the scale of him looks awesome. And they did that whole Galactus suit is practical, and Ralph Ineson really wore it, and you could see it. It looks so highly detailed and looks so good, and they built miniature sets for him to walk around on. And like Galactus himself is so intimidating. Like when he came on screen, his eyes glow and like the shadow is just him. You're like, holy shit. And you know, he's stretching Reed Richards. I saw somebody online being like, oh, they made Reed Richards' powers of stretching a weakness? Like what the fuck? You guys don't understand the scale of what's happening here. Sure, Galactus is pulling Reed Richards and it looks like he's only pulling him a couple feet. Galactus is the size of a building. He's pulling him so much further than you think, you know? Like, Reed Richards, he pulled him so far that his suit started ripping. Like, he's still fine because he's made out of rubber, but like, I thought our boy was about to get ripped into two pieces right there for a second. But here's another great shot, and something I'm just going to end on, is I've seen this twice now, both in a normal screening, and I thought Galactus looked incredible. But the difference between a normal size shot and the IMAX shot is so different that like I almost need to go see this in IMAX, or at the very least when it comes out at home I need to see it with the IMAX format on my TV where I'll actually get the whole filled screen and see all of this. Because Galactus, when he arrives, he looks at the Statue of Liberty as kind of like, this is what these puny fucks look up to. Wow. You know, like, but he looks over to it, and we only see a little bit of his crown, and a little bit of him, and mostly his face, and a little bit of the Statue of Liberty. In IMAX, this same shot, you see the Statue of Liberty's books, you see his whole crown, you see some of his chest, you see the water falling off of his giant body. Like, oh my god, like, I need to see the scale of this. Same as Superman, I feel like they were both shot for IMAX, and in normal screenings, they look great. But something about that IMAX extra screen, it just looks so incredible. Like, Dune Part 2 was incredible. But when I saw it on IMAX, that shit blew my fucking mind. And how a 2-hour and 45-minute movie, I didn't pee once and barely even moved because I was so glued to the screen. And those IMAX seats suck. You know, they're like the plush rockers instead of the reclining lazy boy chair like every other theater has. I don't know, man. Sometimes the seats are just so uncomfortable in IMAX that I just choose not to go to it because I'd rather be comfortable for 2 hours. You know what I mean? Like, but also there isn't a great IMAX theater in my area. Like, I'll have to go up to New Hampshire to get to it. Like, Massachusetts, we need a sick IMAX theater, please. Good seats, great screen. We don't care if we have to spend extra money for it. We're gonna go. Like, I promise. Just fucking make good movies, make a good theater. Well, I'll be happy. But that's it for me today, y'all. Stay tuned for this week. There'll be a trailer breakdown for Peacemaker Season 2, a movie review for the new Wes Anderson film, The Phoenician Scheme, will be coming out soon. Movie reviews for Happy Gilmore 2, The Death of the Unicorn, both two films that just came out this year but are on streaming currently. Eyes of Wakanda's right around the corner, so we'll probably be doing Marvel Animation breakdown episodes for that, and Alien Earth right around the corner as well, so we might be doing some breakdown episodes for that, so stay tuned. Lots of content coming your way in the future. Hot Toys unboxings on the weekends. My name's Big Cam. Thank you guys so much for coming on by. If you'd like to follow my other social medias, links down in the description below. And if you made it this far in the video and you want to support the channel, the best way to do that is liking this video, commenting down in the comment section below, hitting that bell so you don't miss future videos and you get the notifications when they come out. And once again, my name's Big Cam. Thank you guys so much, and I will see you beautiful people in the next one. Peace!